We're almost done. Can I meanwhile start modeling, or it will be too much for cinema for the... I'll probably just keep running it. I don't want to crash it. When you're calculating things, it's better to keep things calculated. Okay, let's see our scene. Now you'll be also a little bit hard to see, so I'll just put quick shading. So we jump. Things get tear apart. Things falling down. Okay. Yeah, things falling down. That's all good. Let me just go back. We could probably cache also the objects we are using on the Voronoi. So let me just cache this one as well when we're already baking things to make it smoother, because it will help us to see everything. When we are just grabbing through or clicking through, it's sometimes confusing, especially with the particles and stuff like that. But you know, baking caching, it's your time saver. Okay, so now when we're going through, we count the pieces flying apart. Things still work pretty quickly. Then we fall down. Some spinning objects, but it's okay. And at the end, we said, okay, we want to have two more robots. So I'll take this one, the tiny bot. We have a couple of them. I'll just bring it here. I will go to animation mode. I will move him around, rotate him. And this is roughly the end frame we want to be ending. Going towards our pirate, and then I will just adjust the direction. Nice. Then I will take one of those ones, which, let's have a look if we are using actually. We ended up using the only normal bots, or we have also some which are instances. For the Mobi, it actually says instance, but we ended up not using instances. Fine. So let me do the first light, and then I will make one more instance. So let me just go closer. I'll go one of those bots. Select this head. So we got this mesh name, which is connected to our geometry. And then I can bring the cylinder. Just hit Alt 0. I hope, because we actually could put it on the bone structure. Might be even easier. So let me just show the joints. He just get destroyed his hands, or is my perception? Hand's doing something wrong. Was it here before? Oh, it actually was. It was not there before. I think it's since we copy and paste this gun there, it kind of could destroy his hands. That's unlucky. It's unnecessary things we need to fix now. So the easiest fix in this case, this one's supposed to be the pink one. So let me just basically, I don't know exactly what happened, the mistake, but in this case, let's just, when we're already doing it, let's just copy and paste new one. Just the direction. Okay. And then have a look what's happened wrong with this bad guy. Okay, so I just bring the cannon under the hips. But I like the cannon there actually, so just put it outside. Delete this one. Bring the new one. Let's just make sure it's not gonna happen second time. So with the hips, just fine. With the spine of the hands, everything works well. So if I will bring the geometry under the hips, all right, it did break the hands. Now we'll do Control Z, and now it's working everything fine. So this is our problem. Let me bring it under the spine. It seems it works. I don't know if the hands should be moving more. Oh, no, the hands, it actually killed the animation. Yeah, this is a small unlucky problem. I hope you do mind. I do troubleshooting on live. I thought it might be good to see when I'm dealing with the problems, how to adjust them, because it's also changing the type of the joint structure which used to be in the old Mixamo is different than the new one, and so it's good to kind of like see what problem you can run into. So this is shoulder. Basically, you want the gun on the shoulder, so let's just try to bring it under the final shoulder. Okay, I was actually moving with the hand. So you can have it like some kind of big as a gun. It overriding the animation. That's interesting. Okay, we don't want that. Then make some more. So what you could do when this is happening, you can basically adjust your anchor point. Then if I would turn it 180, it basically just start aiming up. Then we can also adjust where we have our anchor point, and it should be able to move it a little bit. Let's turn this off, move it. Okay. I'll just move too much this bad boy. So me move it in the center, maybe a bit lower. Then I will bring it back. And there is not particular reasoning for having this gun this way. I'm just trying to make those bots look a bit more militant. That's all what I'm doing. So it looks just he's walking and wearing some kind of gun or stick. I think it's enough this way. But it's annoying that when we start bringing the objects in, because this is how I used to always do it with when we have the joint objects. I just brought it underneath the joint and I just drag and drop it as a parent. If this is a problem, we can also have it outside of the bone structure, and we can use in rigging. We can basically use the constraint, and we can use parent, and then we can parent it to the joint, which we might ended up have to do because I want to do one more thing now. And as I was telling you about, I will bring the cylinder in. Just alt click, alt 0, not disk, cylinder. And then I'll just bring it maybe on the neck. Higher, make it bigger. I actually don't want to have it even on the neck. I want to have it on the hips. Something like this. All right. And then we will create one more thing. We'll bring the cube. We will make it a bit higher here. As we make the separation, we'll make basically two sides. And this cube will be rotating, so I will just bring the rotation. The rotation will go all the way in the beginning, and then we will say, okay, it's a bit angled, but it should be fine. How many angles we can do? Like we can do, basically now you setting up how many times this thing will spin, and we want to keep constant spinning, so we'll switch it to linear. And now when we will look this guy, we don't see the rotation. Okay, this is annoying semaphore. The animation being override by the joints on top of that, that's what I don't want. So what I can do, so I told you before, I might have to do, I'll bring it outside of the bone structure. I'll just have it here somewhere. It's gonna be our, and we can even create it group for this. So this is gonna be our light. So I'll create the light. Then we have all those things. I will create rigging. I will go to constraint. I click wrong. Right click, rigging, constraint. Then I will say, hey, I want parent. And this parent object will be the hips. And we don't want to take rotation. We want position. Let's see how it works now. So, okay. So now it's working with him, spinning on the head as we want. There's some weird angle on it. Okay, that's because we have some other rotation angle which we're getting from the joint. Okay, so now we have this spinning thing. You might say, what are you doing? What the hell is happening here? And this is the thing, when you have this like alarm lights, or you have like the police car sirens, they just, those lights are spinning. How they are made, they are spinning is basically there is something like this. It's just like some small spinning wall. Um, I can do here. I'll just have this linear, maybe have even higher numbers. So just put it even higher. Rotation. I'll just go even more. Let's just go faster. 7,000. Then the next thing what we want to create here, I just want to have some light. We can have two area lights, or we can have point light. And I'm thinking what's going to be the quicker way how to develop this. Now I'm thinking about it, we can actually make it even easier. This might be good for Octane users. You can have some kind of geometry which will be like splitting and separating the light. But with Redshift, you can actually just bring the light there. And we can just scale it up. And we could probably just have something like disk, really lower spread, just change the rotation, with on one side. I mean, ideal world, if I would like go for details, I would probably add. We might still do it, but we don't want to make it too slow. With all those small details you're adding up, you're just increasing the calculation time. So let me save this because we did a lot of changes. So save incremental. I will have our new lights. They're gonna be red because it's a hazard light. And we will have some volumetric, but not crazy. And let's just see how it looks. Okay, so we see some lights there, but they're barely visible. Just before I will do this, let me check if I will do point light. The point light actually might work better in a sense, but then we are still dealing. It's gonna look like there's just one big light. I want to keep this rotation thing, so let me just go back to area light. But the area light won't give us the light in the center. Okay, I'm just thinking out loud here. Just brainstorming, just playing. You know what I see now? When I will start increasing this, and we'll have this like line bit bigger or stronger, we will get this kind of like hazard lights, and then we can have even the cylinder we are using as a ground. I will just bring the cylinder, make it a little bit taller, maybe a little bit smaller. And so then I can create here materials. Just see if we have some glass already. We have this one. Just make the copy of this plastic glass or whatever. I'm just changing it because you might play with it, that you might say it's thin wall. You do thin wall, it will be calculating a bit faster. You might still get some reflection on it, so you might still have some high IOR, so it will still act sort of as a glass. I reduce, I delete the concrete wall inside. Then I might maybe bring some shiny material on the ground. You can see if I will reduce the thin wall, it's still gonna work. I just believe it's a bit slower to calculate, and we actually want to have it thin. And now it's just a matter of how we're gonna get some kind of sort of interesting look. Also, we might get some kind of nice details in the edges. So if I will maybe add like some big radius here. We might get some like nice edge, but again, like this is, we will see this like really from far distance, so we don't want to necessarily go for some big details here. So if I will like save the frame, then I will go to our lights, and maybe I will try now the different approach. I will switch it into point light. Okay, this is start looking more interesting. And then we have the wall inside, the cubic. Just turn it off. If I turn it off, it's like all mayhem. It's just crazy. And the spinning thing, it will be helping us to kind of divide the objects for two sides. I mean, it's still really like strong light. Like if you have multiple orbs like this, it's gonna be really prominent. But this looks like it's a light source. This definitely way less. But each of them will have different benefits if you will choose to go that road. So let's be solidar with the guy who use Octane, because in Octane you can just so simply use this kind of cone lights. So, okay, let's just do it Octane friendly. Let's do something in between. So I will have this object, this cube, and maybe we can just do one more copy. Then we will move our lights, the point lights. In Octane, you still have to put area light, but you will use those things as a blocking features. And now when you turn it on, we should be start getting some kind of like slice. Okay, so it's not gonna be putting the light everywhere, and it will be reflecting in some parts more than others. Can maybe do more open. Like I'm not sure in the real siren what's actually the radius there, but I will turn off the rotation, and I'll just put this under the original cube. And then I might just reduce the lights because it's too prominent. So I'll just go 500. Okay, and then we can just turn on the glass on top. Just save it. Yeah, I think it's quite fun. I mean, we will have the lights not going everywhere. The light will be still kind of contained. We can also still see what's gonna look if you're gonna turn off the thin wall. Yeah, I mean, it has some, I mean, each option will have just some benefits to it. But I'm happy to use thin wall for this one. Again, we are doing the rough way. And the thing underneath is kind of glossy, so it give us some more reflection. It's not really important how it looks in this frame though, because as you know, we will see it from much bigger distance. So we're just setting up the light. And then this light is supposed to be copy it over the different movies. Let me just turn it off. I think 3 lights could be maybe enough. So I'll probably have it. We have 3 guys here, so it's gonna be on this one, and this one. And also the light of this guy is blue now, and I believe we had pink before. So I know that we changed the colors a bit, but it's blue, so it's one SG pink. And then we will bring the light. Let's bring it to this one. Okay, it's not even aligned properly. Could probably have to go underneath our hips. And I won't go full reset alt 0. I just want to reset the position, rotation. Now this is interesting because it doesn't do what it's supposed to do. Let me just bring it off. Hey, buddy. Let's hear it out. We want... Okay, I'll just do it manually. No biggies. Like basically small cool hats. Just take it this way. It also might be the problem with still using the constraint here. So this constraint will go and we will use the new hips. So hips from this movie. Let me just see if it's actually moving. If we are going backward. This is bad joke. It just like disappeared. And it destroyed our animation. Amazing. Just quiet for a second to make sure I'm everything sitting right. The light's being put on the wrong hat or wrong guy. So let me just bring it under this mesh if you can do this here. Now it's just doing whatever it wants. So I will just delete this constraint tag. I will just bring it under the hip scene. And 0, 0, 0. I mean, this is interesting to me. It's some way how it works, probably or because we are using the motion clip data. But usually when you work with the bone structure with clones, you can just put it underneath it and then just zero it out, and then you will get exactly position as the clone. When you start working with the motion clip, where you will be adjusting the position, rotation, speed, it's a little bit tricky because the keyframes which are on the bones doesn't work anymore. So that's a little bit tricky part, but we will try to make it work as it should. Just bring the light one more time. Bring it to our hero. Bring it a bit higher. Okay, so let's just bring the light under the other geometry. We just delete the constraint now because might cause some issues later on. Then I will just bring our light, just bring it underneath our hero object, put it on his head. Does definitely look a head. And then I'll go to rigging. We will go to constraint, use the parent, and bring the hips. Okay, so now we have two guys with these funky heads. You can also offset the rotation of the light, and we'll do one more for this one. So now when we already see how it works, it's gonna be a piece of cake. So we'll have the copy of the light. I will select the mobi, bring the light underneath him. Just put it somewhere between the geo. Just delete the constraint here. Okay, just zero things to be it's supposed to be. I will put him on the head. Okay, so it seems good to me. And we'll just give him again the constraint. We want to use the parent object, and we will bring it to our hips, which is basically the same which we are using for deforming this entire thing. So now when we got this and we got like a few different robots walking in, now we can finally do the copy of one more of them. So I'll just do the mobile 2. It's gonna be like mobile 4 because I think we have 4 of them. We'll bring the animation change. Let's move it over here. Let's go to final camera. So let me just select the camera. Okay. So you want to walk towards the pirate. Something like this. And yeah, we might end up even closer. So just come here. Okay, so now we have a bunch of robots. I will hide the material. Now this is a little bit trickier. We are adjusting animation. We are setting some materials. Let me just have the render view. I will save the render. And let's have a look how it looks with all the lights on, because it might change the light dramatically. So now we see we got the guy there who has our pinky magenta clothes. It's still a little bit dark. We have those like other dudes like going there. We have the main ones with the lights coming in, which is gonna be like turning, which might create some kind of interesting effect. I hope so. I mean, if you see this kind of like small V shape in the volumetric, that's what will be creating spinning animation. The question is if it's spinning fast enough, but I believe it should be. And what I don't see is this one more guy here we created. Let me just have a look. Why we don't see this other tiny bot? I wouldn't say it's because there is no light. Let me just... Okay, there could be one another problem. If I think it's what it is, then there could be issue with the ground. Okay, so he's for some reason underneath the ground. So just gonna go to bots, tiny bot. And we just put him higher. Turn him to floating, so I'll just make sure he's not floats. And now it's still messy what we got here, but we definitely see there is something bad going to happen. We have those robots with these burning hazard lights. And one more thing we could do, if you're gonna bring dome light. It doesn't have to be even maybe dome light. Maybe you can do it even this way. We can do it area light. And this light would be sky. So let's make it sky. Can make really cold light. We will make it huge. So we will make it like 1500 at least. Again, it depends on the scale of your scene. Maybe too huge. It's much bigger than our scene, but okay. And this will just go above everything. Be fairly far. It's really spread out. And now just let's have a look. We save this frame, so just hit even or save it to picture viewer. Then I will render to see how it looks. Wow, look at this. Beautiful. You don't see nothing. So with this light, we definitely don't want to see any volume. And we want to be really light. Subtle. Even more than this. You just save the frame. So I can see basically what's happening here. Like the things will get a little bit more prominent. We will reduce some of the lights, like the shadows. We will get light on the other side. It's maybe still too much. It's maybe too cold, so I can make it still a little bit warmer. I can make it a little bit less prominent, this light. The question if we even need shadow, we probably don't even need it. Also, there's a bidirectional, which could be also solved. Like if you would be using the cone object on those heads, you could have instead of two lights, you could have one light, and the one light will be bidirectional, so be calculating just once. I'm just like, there's so many different ways how we can approach this. Just make this side frame again. Okay. So it's too bright. Oh, I can't drag them drop. Okay. So it's just showing the small difference. We just get a bit more light. It's a bit brighter. Our hero element is still kind of lost in there. But I hope it's visible enough, even though it's a bit lost. And then for the sweep, for the cloth, I can still put subdivision surface. So it will give us a little bit better looking cloth. So this cloth, if I'm not mistaken, I put quite high. Translucency. Oh, it's actually not so high. It's quite fine. So we don't make it unnecessarily too bright. And then the wood on the ship, which we are flighting there. I mean, I wish I would like normally if I work on those stuff like this, I just spend a lot of time to get the materials done, to make them right, to make them a bit brighter, lower contrast. But you can still do things in post-production, so I'm not gonna go crazy here. I think this is fine. I think we are, for what we are creating right now, this works well. As I said, normally I would maybe try to create a little bit more space around him, maybe some spotlight, but I think it's gonna be an animation. It should be visible enough. So I'll just save this and render it as it looks like final version. So let me see one more time if there was anything I wanted to change more. We will do final comping in After Effects. Now we get the robots coming in. Some of them has gun, most of them doesn't have the gun. It's just spinning ones. We fix the texture opening on the door. Maybe just check it to be sure on the frame like 83 if it's right. Yeah, that's about it. So let's just check frame 83. And let's have a look if our doors are right texture. Ah, it's not. So this lucky we did this actually. We can see there is something to be adjusted. So go frame 70 and there's this wrong door. So okay, apparently my mistake. At least now we can see like which what is the best way how to approach this at the end. So get the right door. The right door we are using from frame 70, so that should be fine. It probably looks like the camera projection is wrong. So if I can come here and I will bring the camera, we go up, and I bring the soft camera. Even that doesn't work well. That's interesting. Oh no, I just restarted and it works now. So the camera soft works well, but our other camera we are using for projection, it did not. So was it a mistake in Cinema 4D or was it our mistake? Let's find out quickly. So this is the camera I want to use. And this is a soft camera. So they look really similar, but not the same. So let me just make the copy of the soft camera, bring it over here, remove everything, all the keyframes. Like I don't want any keyframe on this. And I go on the door, scrolling down on the door with the camera here. I'll just hide this camera. We don't want to see this one. So on the top, we created a new camera. Let me hide it. Okay. So now we have two identical cameras. On the frame 70, they are same. So I'll just bring this one. I will go under the door. And again, if you did this right in the beginning, you don't need to do this again. I'm just like showing you what happened if you do things wrong. So I'll just delete this. I'll delete the limitation tag. So now I have this camera up. And look at this, what happened. The camera jumped when I was doing the transfer. Okay, so one more time. I'll remove the limit on the camera. Add the camera. Everything is fine. Just drag and drop this camera on the door right. Okay, now it's there. So there was a problem. We had the limit on the camera, which was like allowing us what we can do, what we cannot do with the camera. And you can see the cameras are different. So it's, I don't know what to tell you. It's just you have to be careful. So luckily we catch this on the time. So this is our new soft camera. We can just call it the door camera. And in our texture, we will just use the door camera. So now when I will go back to our main angle and I will hit the render. Everything looks good, and we can go a little bit further. So I'll just go frame 81, and there is some mistake happening again. Okay, that's interesting. I think maybe good we are experiencing these issues here, so we will solve it once forever. So we are using the camera mapping from the camera, which is being animated, and then also our texture on the surface. Let's turn off animation because we don't want animation there. That's great. And one last thing I might do there. If I go to 71 or whatever, 70, what we can do here in the material, we can just use the pin texture. Right now, I think we did everything we are supposed to do. We have the camera right. We have set up it's projecting from the camera, which is animated. We have pin texture. So in this moment, I feel I did everything right. So I will just delete this. And I will just hit Control Z. So now it will bring back by Cinema 4D. As you can see, it suddenly works. So if everything you're doing right and it's still wrong, just sometimes the problem is not on your side, it's just in Cinema 4D side. So let me just do it one more time. So just go frame 70, and I'm sorry for this, but this is not my fault. Cinema 4D. So just make sure everything is there. Just delete this, bring it back. Okay, everything works. Material, pin material. Okay. And the last thing, of course, what we break now is when we have the dynamics, you used to have the gravity 700, it's supposed to be 1000. So now I'm basically showing you everything what can go wrong. If it goes wrong, what you have to do. Then you need to readjust it. You need to turn off those things. I'll just bake the object again. And then I will bring gravity to 700. As you can see, this is the disadvantage of layer-based system. Like normally you would have a bunch of nodes, you would update it. Now when you have like baking and caching the things, this is the weakest side of working in Cinema 4D. We are still trying to make it work. So let me now see if everything is fine, if the texture fitting. Yes, it's good. Not on this frame though. Okay, so I'm noticing sometimes the Cinema 4D has a little bit of problem with updating the proper texture, as we are probably using the cached object. Like right now you can see it's not updating as it should. I will bring it somewhere, and then I bring the texture back. It updates again, right? So this is a little bit annoying. We will have to keep eye on it. So from this reason, and also having the camera depends on type of the object, I probably prefer the version like now when I seeing this, I was not sure which I will be using in my other workflows, but now when I see this, it's better to bake the texture. Um, it's a bit more work to set it up, to set the color channel, set the right resolution. But when you bake the texture and it's aligned to your UVs, that's it. You don't have to worry about anything else. As you can see, if you are using the camera door, like if you're using the another camera which is underneath the object, which also doesn't work for everything, you know, if depends what type of animation you are doing. This is simple animation, but not for everyone. It would be working just having the camera linked underneath it. So I personally recommend you just go with the first setup we did. As you can see now again, it's like some wrong updates there. So the repetition is the key to success. So let's just do it one more time. All right, so the one thing I was still struggling a little bit here was like the getting the proper light. Like if you can see, if you using rendering the animation, there was some like black areas where we don't see the volumetric anymore. I tried a bunch of different settings and I was not getting the results what I needed. So then I come up with the solution which works. Let me just show you. Um, we don't need two different shadow catchers. We just need one shadow catcher, which is catching the shadows. Then in environment, we need to be sure that we have replaced alpha. And then the next thing is just to tell what we want to catch the shadow of the ship and what not. Well, in this wall, we actually really catching the wall just on the doors and then on the main wall. The main wall works fine. And here, we don't need on the stairs, we don't need in the back because we don't see the ship in front of it. So this is more for using for depth channel later on and also as a kind of like matte object. So this is gonna be the door. I'll just bring it here and put it outside of the walls. And then I will bring the ground extend, which I noticed actually overlapping with the main ground. So I will just move it further in the Z space. And then I'll just adjust it. So it's connecting and it's not overlapping. And this we will bring there as well because this is in the back. Then we have our far distance object as a wall. We might use this one as well. And yeah, just make sure covering all the view. So this one I'll put there as well. So those are basically the geometry which was causing our mainly the problem with the light. So I put them separately in one group. And then what am I gonna do? I'm gonna go to dome light and then I will go to project and I will exclude those lights from the dome light. So we won't get any major light on them. And that's it. It means there will be no shadow because we won't be getting any main light. Um, so now when I go here and I will just render test frame and let me see if everything else is set up right. Yes, lights are set up here. AOVs, we actually don't need so many AOVs, just those ones. And then we can also play with the depth channel. So let me bring the depth. And in the depth, what is important to set Z normalized. It should give you, because sometimes you get such a wide range, it's kind of hard to set up and find where exactly your depth channel is. But the normalized, it's kind of like adjusted, so you should get like decent looking depth channel. And that's important to have 30 bits. So you can either set it up separately here, that it will be OpenEXR, or we can just do it even here. We can just have OpenEXR 32-bit because we are using the depth channel as well. Okay, so we'll save this and let's just render one frame and we will test it out. All right, so let's just see how it works. If I'm gonna come over here, reload, we'll make sure I'm actually using, yeah, the frame 121, I believe. Yes, 121. So I'll just reload this one. We have actually multiple times. And actually, don't need it so many times. And then in this frame, you can see already start working better. If you hit pre-multiply or straight unmatch, let me just see. It's not updating here. Okay, so we will just go over here and switch pre-multiply. And now we can see like we're getting really strong glow, but that's actually this big laser cannon, which is kind of shooting like really strong volumetric. We might need to reduce it. It's actually too strong. But now you can see it's actually adding on top of the ground. So because this is what we are rendering essentially. And with pre-multiply, you can see that the glow is on top of everything. The only thing that is the problem here is this like corner, but this should be easy fix. It looks like just some layer got kind of lost. So let me come over here and see if there is something hidden which we rendering but don't see. And there's one thing here, cube. Okay, I don't think it's that one. So I'll go to this other preview mode. No, this looks all good. So let me double check. Okay, I think actually in overall we are getting really bright image. So let me slightly adjust it. One of the things we want to adjust is are the gun lasers. So we'll just go to guns, bots, ship and gun, and then I've found our lights. Okay, so those two lights, I will make them less open, so they will be kind of more sharp. And also I can adjust the intensity. The intensity right now is fairly big. Let me see if I will bring it into this editor. We are using 2000, so let me just take those ones and just reduce it roughly on the half. That should remove most of our issues. And then one more thing what we can do here, as we did with the dome light and we remove the wall, we can actually do this for the other objects. For example, for the sky, which might causing some other problems as well. So I'll just put it on walls as well. So let me just save this as a new version and do the same thing, just export the frame.